Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage channel here on YouTube, and you are looking at the amazing and the glorious steel construction of the Singer Touch-O-Matic Model 600E. This, of course, is my current project and my very first touch and sew, but I approach this machine the way I approach every machine I restore. When I get sewing machines, they are rescues, meaning they have either been sitting for decades, which is true of many of them, or there's something wrong with them. Someone says, "Hey, I have a sewing machine for sale. It's in great condition, except for, they people do this on online marketplace areas." And so I take them and I give every machine the same procedure. I call this the rescue waking up procedure. I go through the machine, I inspect it, I'm looking to see, do things move, what doesn't move, what needs help moving. And again, I have yet to plug this sewing machine in and try to sew with it. The fact is, unless a client, I have had people bring me machines for restoration, and if it's a machine they've been using, you can always tell because the machine may not be working properly, but it is moving. It's typically not frozen up. However, there are exceptions to that too. Sometimes people use one feature of a machine and they never use the others and they get stuck. So this, of course, is the 600 series of Singer's famed slant-o-matic design. The design began in 1950 or so, 1951 with the Singer 301 or the 301A. And then that was a straight stitch machine. Those of you who have 301s, that machine needs no introduction. And of course, it was followed by the 400 series, the 500 series, and then the 600 series. What do they have in common? I've been talking about that in my videos lately. On this one, this is one of the easiest things to see that they have in common, which is the slanted needle bar. Thus the name Slant-O-Matic. And if you follow it down here, you'll see that's why you have slant shank attachments. Again, this machine, I have the pedal and the cord and everything, but I have not plugged it in to try and make it run. My approach to this is, you know what? Let's inspect the machine. Let's check it out. Is there something missing? And make sure everything is working so that when I do test stitches, at least I have eliminated a number of problems, because almost every machine I ever get, onto my workbench has some issue. And you know what? The good news is they're almost never broken. Occasionally there's a part that's broke, but usually it's because somebody tried to fix it and they did something, they got confused and didn't do the right thing, or very often they're just asleep. They have sat and sat and sat, and sometimes in not great conditions. So I am inspecting. Now I'm coming around to the side. I typically work from the top, work my way down to the bottom, and I've taken my lint brush here. I basically don't really see much of any lint at all. A little bit, I mean a tad, but I've seen a lot worse. Have no idea how much use this machine got, but I will say this: there are no scratches in the paint, and that's usually a sign that this machine had if it were a car, it would have low miles. If it were a boat, it would have, fewer hours. Maybe I think they measure tractors and hours of usage. In any case, this steel looks like to be in great condition. So I've got a cotton swab here, a little bit of 99% isopropyl alcohol. Now, sometimes you will see a line on your needle bar and sometimes on the pressure bar too, and that typically is because when it comes up, there's a range that the bar has, and you want to check this because when the bar has a certain place it goes to and then it comes back up, you'll see a line and right here, if I zoom in, you'll see if I point right there, that's just like a lint fuzz line, right? And this bar should have had sewing oil on it. And I'm just coming over here to remove this. I've removed far worse than this. This isn't too bad. And then there's another similar line up here. So we'll get that off of there. And this area, just like the top, it'll get oiled. But I always encourage those of you, when you get a machine and you first get it, don't be in a hurry. You know, you might say, oh, well, let's just get it and put some oil in it and let's go. No, please don't do that. It's extremely rare that you can get away with that because your machine has been sitting and it has lots of moving parts. Well, they're supposed to be moving parts, but they get stuck because they haven't moved in a long time and the sewing machine oil is often gummy. What I'm not seeing here is an awful lot of oil. So I don't know that this machine, and honestly, when I looked in the top earlier, you know, some of the grease had gotten a little blackened, but I mean, there's not really much of anything to talk about up there. The machine was stiff, but again, I believe it has been sitting for a minimum of 15 years, maybe 20. So, I want to make sure I've gotten all the dust out of here. Now, I had mentioned to you all that one of the things that the 600 series was carried over from the 500 series that it has is this dial here. And of course, this is what is used to adjust pressure bar tension. Now, traditionally, and you would see this on the 301 and on the 400 series, you saw there was a giant, very heavy, it's like a giant bolt, and you would turn the knurled bolt at the top or loosen it, and it would adjust your pressure bar tension. And for reasons that are not clear to me, Singer changed the design. They still have a pressure bar and tension, but it's used, it's adjusted with this dial. Now, this is where, if you see this little thing here, right now it's set on 3. That's kind of like when you're going to set it, this is your window to know, you know, how do you know what number means what? It's not a clock, right? So and it's set this way because, you know, you would be viewing the machine straight on when you open the door. I have the door, but the door's off for purposes of this overhaul. So you'll notice that if I try to turn this knob, it doesn't want to turn. I mean, it's really, you see it wiggling a little bit, but basically you turn it this way or this way, it says it doesn't want to. Now what happens when you lift this, okay? Now it's really not wanting to turn. So I have my pressure bar down and now it's wanting to turn. However, if this did not move, I would say stop, because yours may not. In fact, on the 503 that I have, that I've compared this to, that machine has yet to be overhauled, and it's just a hot mess. It's got a lot of gooey sludge, for lack of a better term. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and look and see when you're turning this, what is it connected to? And I need my flashlight. And I'll get a better view of this. So if you look right here, let's turn this and we'll get a zoom in. Maybe that'll help us see what we're looking at. Yeah. So right here is the pressure bar that your pressure feet are attached to. You can see me sort of pointing at it with my oiler right there. You see where I'm pointing here. Right there. Okay, so there's our pressure bar. Now above this piece here, there's a narrower bar, and try to get it to show up for you. You see this right here. Right there. Well, as this comes up, it makes a 90-degree turn into the mechanism that our knob is attached to. So what does that tell us? That tells us that this is interacting with our pressure bar. And instead of that big spring that we're used to seeing on the 400 series, and this is now I believe there is a spring, but the spring is actually encased underneath this piece. I believe that is how it is set up. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that anything that requires lubrication has it. Now I haven't finished oiling this whole section here, but I'm doing this right now because I'm trying to ascertain what needs oil and what doesn't. Because if you see when I lift it up on the pressure lever, this piece covered up. I'll do it again for you. You see that? So we know that because this is moving, it moves up and down because I believe there's a spring hidden inside the casing of your pressure bar. That is what needs to move. And if yours is stuck, it may be because it's either got old oil and that has turned to glue, or it has not been lubricated in a long time, or both. So let's come over here and see if we can look behind. So when you look at the piece that made the 90-degree left turn, and I think I want to come up with the camera just a bit here. All right, see what we can see here. All right, I don't know how well this is going to show up for you guys, but there is an opening where this 90 degrees, remember, it turns and it comes toward the dial, right? And then there's like an opening, it's like a slot, okay? And when I turn, this 90-degree piece pivots, right? It kind of moves with it. Now, because this looks like it has more space to move than normal, I think what I may end up doing, what's happening is I believe this dial, this plastic dial, it functions in some ways like a cam a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my grease, and instead of using oil, I'm going to use grease, because I really want the lubrication to kind of stay put there. You know, I don't want it and I might need it's very possible that I might need my my syringe to get the grease where I want it to go. But this is my plan. My goal here is to get this to move by lubricating the bar it's attached to, and also helping that steel piece that's in that slot to move within the slot, because there's grease on it, which is what it wants. That is how you preserve your plastic dial and you don't break it, because if, again, as is true with virtually every, lever or control piece that a sewing machine has, there's nothing wrong at all with the fact that they're plastic. It's the steel behind them that you really have to pay attention to, because if that's not moving, the plastic is going to give, and you're going to be really unhappy when your machine has a broken part, and especially if you're the one that broke it. So you don't want to do that. All right. Let's see. Where is my syringe here? Take my syringe and see if I can get it to... You don't need much here. I'm not like flooding this thing with grease. That's not really the goal at all. We just want to get some, because remember that the area that is actually touching here is not that, it's not that large. The contact point is fairly small. So if you put oil or grease on something beyond where it touches, you're just wasting oil and grease and creating potentially more mess than you really needed to create. So now I get the feeling that it's moving a little bit better. And it moves, by the way, this piece here, where's my flashlight? This piece of steel pointing at it with my swab here. This piece of steel that goes into a slot, which is here, it actually, as you move around the numbers on the dial, 8, and then that's, oh, doesn't want to go past there. Okay, so 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then eventually it'll go to 0 and you don't have any pressure. So now I believe I'm good to go there. I'm really happy with the way this is moving, and we'll leave it at 3, which is where it was set. Your manuals, by the way, once you have numbered, a number to have a setting for something like pressure bar foot pressure, the manual will tell you, or it'll make suggestions. Okay, what should the setting be if you're sewing many layers, a few layers, heavy fabric, light fabric, and so forth. So while we're here, we'll go ahead, see if I can get this little area oiled. And oiling this side compartment is very similar to oiling any other side compartment of a sewing machine. You may have more areas to get to look at to put oil in, because if I was doing the 301, it doesn't, it's similar but probably not quite as involved because there's just less going on. That may or may not be true in this case, but with many machines I have found that straight stitch dedicated machines typically they don't have as many moving parts. So all right, what else are we? I want to make sure that we catch all of our areas here. So what we can do here is remember we have our needle bar, which is here, right, is coming up into this, I guess it's like a bushing or a sleeve. Let's get some oil there. So now when I pull it up, it spreads the oil over that range of motion on the shaft. And then over here, follow me camera, we have yet another area to put some oil because now it goes down there, and then not to be left out, we can come down here, and of course I've got some lint mostly. Lint is something you're going to get with any sewing machine. Even a modern sewing machine is going to have that issue. All right. So remember, always clean your lint before you put any oil. Otherwise, you're going to have a really muddy, goopy mess. And I can just sort of slide that around there. And then as I pull the needle bar up, now its full range of coming into contact with steel should have been dealt with. And there is one more area here I want to hit, and that is right here. Now again, I've mentioned this before, you are seeing me put what you might think is a ton of sewing machine oil. Like, gosh, I thought you're only supposed to put a drop. That's for normal oiling. This is not normal because this machine is asleep, been asleep a long time. As I've mentioned on occasion, many of the techniques that I use here are restoration. That's to get a machine, wake up after a long time without service. So if your machine has been recently, overhauled, restored, serviced, then you may be just fine. You may not need. Last but not least, don't forget our pressure bar. It needs to have some love here. You're going to need more sewing oil to wake a machine up than you would for normal oiling. So again, I want to make sure that I call out the difference there. I would never put that much oil when I'm just, hey, it's been a while, been, I don't know, a month or so since I sewed and I got a new project coming up. That would not be me, but those of you So many of my viewers are sewers, and some of you are just incredible at it. So, if you're saying, well, I need to oil the machine and get ready for another project, yes, one drop is normally fine. One drop of sewing machine oil between moving parts goes a long way, and there's no container for the machine to hold it. When you see me adding extra oil, that is specifically because I'm going to put some here. That hole may or may not be there for a good reason, but if I'm not sure, I will get some oil in there. All right, anything I have left out? Let's see. Coming around and looking at it from the back. Now you can do this with grease or oil. In this case, because it's far enough in, I'm going to zoom in so you can actually see, hopefully, something about what's going on there. Let's get a little light here. So you can see the lever, as it rolls up, it's pushing on a piece of steel, and I'm just going to get some oil in there to make sure that it has some lubrication. Again, it's metal on metal. Would it have worked without it? Yeah, but it'll work a lot more pleasantly with the oil. The machine is ready to work, but it was designed to work with lubrication. So let's give it what it was designed for. All right. So we have now covered oiling, inspecting, and oiling a Singer Touch and Sew Model 600E. Last video covered up above, dealing with a sewing machine oil and grease to wake things up. And because this machine is new to me, I have covered everything that I sort of gut instinct thought, well, okay, this could possibly be needing some help because metal moves against metal. And I am somewhat familiar with much of the mechanism, not all of it, in this machine. And that is because this machine is a cousin of, a descendant of the Singer 500 class, otherwise in current times called the Rocketeer. And so, again, we'll be moving forward and taking a look at stitch length works just fine. We'll be looking at other parts of the machine. We'll be going underneath to see why this may be one of the last heirloom quality Singer sewing machines ever built. Not just this particular one, but this model. And if this was helpful to you, again, feel free to support the channel. And if you have one of these machines, share it down below your comments. Do you like it? Are you one of those people that thinks that they're awesome? Or are you one of those that thinks that, well, they're not so awesome? And we will see you next time.